From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew.
Hello and welcome to episode 165 of the Blind Android Users podcast. I'm Ed Green and I'm joined today by my co-hosts Warren Carr, Austin Pinto, Sally Kunders, Karene Kiwan and John Dyer. And we are coming to you on Saturday, the 3rd of February, 2024. It's a busy episode this week. After any announcements, we'll resume our look at Samsung's OneUI in our Android basics, where John takes us through privacy settings. We'll have a spotlight section where John unboxes his brand spanking new Galaxy S24 Plus. In the app of the week, Warren demonstrates the search engine Perplexity. In the next episode of our Jieshuo or commentary series, Karene talks about how to resume speech feedback and browse by touch after suspending it. And in our tip of the week, I talk about how to overcome a problem that Xiaomi users might have when upgrading to HyperOS. Well, I hope everybody's had a good week. Karene, how are you?
I'm fine. Everything is going well here. Actually, we're having a lot of cold, and it was a rainy week. But yeah, things are as usual. Life as usual.
Good, good. John Boy, you are replete with new phones. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, as you mentioned, I just got a OnePlus 12 today in the mail, so even though there's an unboxing in today's episode, there will be another unboxing in the next episode as well. So yeah, living the life, I guess.
And where's your Ultra? Have you got that as well?
No, Samsung's telling me I won't have it till February 14th for some reason. I don't know what's going on with that. I might even end up canceling it. Maybe.
That's a lovely Valentine's present to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not quite as replete with phones as I thought. I thought you had a hat trick of new signings, but only two have arrived. The football or soccer transfer window shut on Thursday in the UK, and I thought, those were your 3 phone signings that you'd made. I thought you had all of them. One is obviously still waiting clearance. Austin, how are you?
So this week was a very sad week. I lost my friend on Monday, and the news came to me, and I was very shocked. Very close friend. We were friends in college, although she had a lot of health complications, but it was sad. But then another nice news was my brother gave me his Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, and the Classic is easier to use than the Pixel Watch 1 series. And there were some problems with the watch, like you cannot use apps of mostly the Samsung Health Monitor if you are not using a Samsung phone. You cannot add eSIM if you are not using a Samsung phone. So I've made a workaround for the Health Monitor app, and that is published on accessible Android. But the eSIM does not have a workaround, so I'm still eyeing on a Samsung phone now.
We're very sorry to hear about your friend, and I'm sure I speak for all the listeners and everyone else in wishing you sincerest condolences. Just think though, you could have had an entirely sad week if your brother had instead given you a Pixel phone. That would have been sad news on sad news.
Yeah, that would have been really sad week.
Yeah, that would have been a very sad week. Warren, how are you?
I am doing well, Ed. Thank you so much. It's another week or another weekend, and I'm glad to be here recording this episode. And I'm thankful that the weather is kind of changing some, and we actually saw the sun yesterday for the first time in a long time, and it was such a beautiful sight. So I'm happy to be here. Ed, how about you? You doing okay?
All is well. I've had an eventful week trying to fix the Xiaomi Braille keyboard. Lots of experimentation, but I'll talk more about that in the tip of the week. And I've been playing with one of those quasi-accessible overlays, quasi-screen readers developed here in the UK called Synaptic, which I'll probably say more about next week. I downloaded a little trial of that. I didn't think we'd featured it before, so I thought I'd have a look. And Sally, how are you? Haven't spoken to you for at least 6 hours.
Yeah, we were like together throughout the day, and yeah,
We were.
so it's nice to see after. Well, I'm thinking this week has been super busy. We published some controversial articles on accessible Android. I know some people hate us and some people love us, but that's what it is, just to make this platform going forward. And apart from that, everything is going well here. It's super cold. It's gonna snow sooner or later, maybe next week. So I'm expecting for that.
Yeah, they say it may snow here, so we'll just have to see how that goes.
This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
Now we turn to our Android Basics section, and it's our next section of OneUI. I think this is part 14. And John shows us the privacy settings.
Hello. Today we're going to be continuing our way through Samsung settings. We are in the security and privacy settings area. Last time we covered security. Today we'll be covering privacy. So I'm going to go directly down to that heading.
Privacy heading.
And the first thing we have here.
Permissions used in last 24 hours. Camera 4 apps. Microphone 5 apps. Location 6 apps.
So you have which apps have recently used those 3 permissions. If you tap on any of them, it'll open a screen.
Permission usage. Apps need your permission to access sensitive data and features on your phone, such as the camera or your location. Permission usage shows you which apps have used permissions and when. Is an app turning on the microphone in the background? You can find out here. If any apps are using permissions in a way that you're not comfortable with, you can immediately deny the permission to protect your privacy. Start button.
I'm going to hit start.
Permission usage. Navigate up button. Usage history. More options button. Location. Used by 6 apps. Today. Samsung Internet.
So these are the apps that have used my location.
While using app, 9:11 a.m. Google. Background, 9:03 a.m. Background, 3:03 a.m. Habitat. Background, 6:48 a.m.
So as you can see, it'll show you which apps have accessed this permission and whether or not it was while you were in the app or in the background. So it's a good thing to know. I'm going to back out of here.
Security and privacy. Location 6 apps.
So I just went into the location, but you could do the same for camera or microphone. And next we have
Permission manager. Allow or deny apps to access features or data on your phone.
All right, so let's go in here.
Permission manager. Navigate up button.
So here we have a list of all the different permissions, starting with
Body sensors. 0 of 2 apps allowed. Calendar. 8 of 22 apps allowed. Call logs. 14 of 19 apps allowed. Camera. 27 of 87 apps allowed.
So this is a long list. I won't go through every permission, but I will open one to show you what it looks like.
Camera. Navigate up button.
So here you could find a list of all of the apps that want the camera permission.
Allowed all the time. Heading. No apps allowed.
That's a good thing. I don't want any app always accessing my camera.
Allowed only while in use. Heading. A, B, and B. Amazon shopping.
So this is going to be a long list of all the apps I've given the camera permission to. And after this list, you'll have a heading for what's not allowed.
Not allowed. Heading.
And this will be the apps
Amazon Alexa.
that
Authenticator.
might ask you for the camera permission if you decide to use them in a specific way or turn on a specific feature within the app. But as of now, I have not granted permission to any of these apps. So I'm going to back out.
Permission Manager. Camera. 27 of 87 apps allowed.
And again, you can get to all of your different permission types in this list. And from there, you can see what apps have permission all the time while the app's in use or no permission at all.
Security and Privacy. Permission Manager. Allow or deny apps to access features or data on your phone.
So now we're back on the privacy settings, and I'm going to go to the next item.
Additional privacy controls. Control access to the camera, microphone, and clipboard.
Let's go in here.
Additional privacy controls. Navigate up button.
First we have
Camera access. Allow apps to use the camera if they have the appropriate permissions. On. Switch.
So this is just global camera access. You could also add this toggle to your quick settings. So if you just want, for some reason, to turn your camera completely off and not let any app access it, you could do that. Same with
Microphone access. Allow apps to use the microphone if they have the appropriate permissions. On. Switch.
Same with microphones. So if you just globally want to turn your microphone off, you can. I don't recommend it because if you got a phone call, the phone app could not access the microphone. But if you're in a situation where you want to turn that off, you can. And then after that, we have
Alert when clipboard accessed. Get an alert when an app accesses text, images, or other content you've copied. Off. Switch.
So I have this turned off. I'm assuming that would just be a toast notification of some sort. And that's all that's on this page. So I'm going to back out.
Security and Privacy. Additional privacy controls. Control access to the camera, microphone, and clipboard.
Next we have,
More privacy settings.
let's see what's in more privacy settings.
More privacy settings. Navigate up button.
Let's see what we have.
Samsung. Heading.
A Samsung heading. Under that we have.
Samsung Privacy website.
So I think this just takes you to Samsung's website if you want to see their privacy statement. Next.
Customization service.
So customization service, this is a Samsung thing. I have it turned off, but if you want them to track your location and messages you've sent and that sort of thing, to customize your experience to have recommendations, you can, but again, I have that turned off. Next we have
Send diagnostic data. On. Switch.
I usually keep this turned on because, if there's a problem, I want them to know about it and I want them to fix it. But that's up to you. You could turn it on or turn it off.
Google. Heading.
Then we have the Google section.
Android personalization service.
Same sort of thing, but Android related.
On. Android personalization service. Switch.
I have that one turned on.
Data sharing updates for location. Review apps that change the way they may share your location data.
You can go in there to review that.
Android system intelligence.
Let's go in here.
Android system intelligence. Navigate up button.
And on this page we have
Device learning. Get suggestions based on the people, apps, and content you interact with. Learn more about device learning.
and
Keyboard. Show smart replies and paste suggestions. On-device recognition. On-device speech recognition.
so this is on-device speech recognition, meaning it doesn't use the cloud. You can go in here and manage what languages you have downloaded to be able to recognize your voice without an internet connection. And then we have,
Clear data. Erase what your device has learned.
so you can erase everything if you have this enabled. And then your smart replies will not be as smart.
More privacy settings. Android system intelligence.
Below that we have,
Health Connect. Manage app access to health data.
I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Autofill service from Google.
Autofill service from Google. Let's go in here.
Autofill with Google. Navigate up, button. Use autofill with Google, on, switch.
I won't go in too much detail here because we've covered this extensively in Android settings before, but here are the options.
Personal info, name, email address, phone numbers, addresses.
So you could save your information there.
Google Password Manager, passwords, passkeys.
And you can have it save your passwords.
Google Pay, payment methods.
And your payment methods.
Preferences, security, sync.
And then here you can go in to change the options preferences for it. I'm going to back out.
More privacy settings, autofill service from Google.
Next we have
Activity controls.
So these activity controls will take you to a page where you can choose your Google account, and it takes you to your account privacy settings where you can customize all kinds of things about what you let Google track as far as your activity and what you don't. Next we have
Ads.
Ads. I'm going to go in here.
Ads. Navigate up, button.
So I'm just going to show you what's in here. This is the ad tracking section, if you want to call it that.
Ad privacy. Customize info apps used to show you ads. Reset advertising ID. This generates a new advertising ID that apps can use from now on. Delete advertising ID. Apps can no longer use this advertising ID to show you personalized ads. Enable debug logging for ads. Instruct apps to write ads debugging information, such as network traffic, to the system log. Off. Switch. These settings help you control whether apps can use this device's advertising ID to personalize ads. This device's advertising ID.
Those are all the settings that apply to ad tracking if you want to reset your ID, if you want to delete it, so forth. It was pretty self-explanatory, I think. So if you want to stop seeing ads for a specific item you used to be interested in or no longer interested in, you'd come in here to reset this advertising ID. I'm going to back out.
More privacy settings. Ads.
Next.
Usage and diagnostics.
So again, just like in the Samsung section, this is where you would go to choose whether or not you want Google to know about how you use your device and the errors you run into, that sort of thing. You can go in here to turn that off if you want to, or turn it on if it's off. So I'm going to back out.
Security and privacy. Navigate up, button. More privacy settings.
And below more privacy settings, we have one more.
Private share. Share files privately, prevent recipients from resharing, and set expiration dates.
So that is an interesting feature that I've never used, but it's there if you want to go in and see what that's all about. And that brings us to the end of this demonstration of the privacy settings on Samsung devices. I will now send it back to the crew.
Anyone want to add anything to this? Warren, have you got any thoughts having heard that?
Privacy is a very good thing, and I'm glad John took the time to go through this because I don't know, if you're like me, there's so many things I want to be made private. So we do encourage people to always go into these sections of the phone and know what's going on. If there are certain things you don't want to be going out there, guys, take advantage of this. And so, John, thank you so much for doing this again. It's absolutely beautiful.
No problem. I also want to remind people, I did this last time we covered this in just the general Android settings, but remember that if you give apps permission to things and then you set up a new phone and you transfer over your account and your apps, all those settings go with it. So, it's a good thing to just go look and see what apps you've allowed certain permissions to, because you could have an app in there that's, you allowed it permission years and years ago and don't even use the app anymore, and it's still got that permission. So it's a good thing to review every once in a while.
It's nice you mentioned that, because when I transitioned from my Galaxy S21 to the S23 Plus, that I set up a few days ago, Monday to be precise. And, all of my privacies from my S21 were transferred over. So just make sure that you have things the way you want them, even if you're changing phones. If you have restoration completed, right, those settings will also transfer. But it's always a good idea to go back in there and make sure that the change is effective, because I tell you what, my Pixel of all phones, for some reason, I reset my Pixel maybe some 2 or 3 days ago, my Pixel 8 Pro, and my Telegram and some other app didn't come through. I had never seen that. Something very odd.
To John's point about apps kind of skulking on your phone with permissions they shouldn't have, Google is trying to save us from ourselves a little bit by kind of cancelling permissions every so often. It's a bit sketchy. And also, I think we've discussed this before. I would like a global option to make it not do that, but it's good advice. Go through and check, even if Google is trying to help you out by cancelling permissions, especially for unused apps.
So Google cancels the permission for unused app, and I think the reason why Telegram did not come, especially if you have installed Telegram beta, which is always out of the Play Store, which is on the Telegram channel, then that app will not transfer to your phone.
That is very interesting. That should have been the reason why, because to be honest, that was the very first time that an app didn't come through after I did a system reset on my Pixel phone. So that explains it. Now I know better.
This is the Spotlight segment. Stay tuned for premium interviews, device unboxing, and more.
Now we turn to our Spotlight section, and it's an unboxing, and these always go down well. John unboxes his new Galaxy S24 Plus.
Hello, and thank you for joining me for this unboxing of the Galaxy S24 Plus. I have it right here. I received it from Samsung today, and I ordered the yellow version. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. It has these pull tabs like Pixel. The Pixel was the first that I noticed starting this, and now Samsung's doing it as well. So you just pull the tabs along the shorter ends. That's one. And see if I can get this one. This is technically supposed to be easier than cutting. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna take it out of the box. Or I should say, I take the top off the box. Let's see what we have in the lid here, if anything. Yeah, so this is where there's like a cardboard piece that holds the cable. And I'm assuming it holds the SIM removal tool as well. Let's see, is this the tool? Let me just see if I can open it up. Okay, I'll just take it out. Here's the book that nobody ever reads. Even sighted people don't read it. Here's the cable. USB-C to USB-C. The usual. And then I pulled out the cardboard. I'm assuming, yeah, here it is. Here's the SIM removal tool on this cardboard. Just gonna take that off and save it. All right, so all that stuff to the side. Back to the phone. I'll take it out. Okay, I like the feeling of it so far. I'm going to take the cover off the screen. Wow, this is... I'm not going to lie, it feels like an iPhone, but I like that shape. You know, the corners are rounded, but the edges are flat. Yeah, completely flat. The front is flat. The front is flat. The sides are flat. And the back is flat. So on the back, we have the 3 cameras. They each protrude out individually. So instead of being like a camera bump, they are their own bumps, I guess. And there's 3 of them. That's on the top left when I have the back of the phone facing me. Down here looks like a little sticker I'm going to remove. Don't know why we have stickers on here. Okay. So the back has like a matte sort of finish to it. It doesn't feel too glossy. The edges do feel glossy. And then, so on the right side, we have the usual volume buttons at the top, side key below that. I guess this is like an antenna or something under that. Unless that's the SIM tray. We'll find out, I guess. Along the top, there's a microphone hole. Along the left side, there's nothing. Along the bottom, we have probably a microphone hole. A USB-C. And then a speaker on the right. So I'm going to see. Yeah, it looks like this is going to be the same situation as the Ultra models have been lately, where there's a microphone hole right next to the SIM ejection hole. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can get it open since I have the tool here. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be right next to it, so I'm going to push it. Let's see if this is... Yeah, that was it. Okay. So the microphone, if you're looking at the bottom of the phone, the hole that's the microphone is to the right of the SIM tray and to the left of the USB-C port. And the SIM ejection hole is to the left of the tray. So it's pretty close to the left edge. So that's good. You can't get it wrong. Okay. I won't put my SIM in right now. But I will compare this to my S23 Ultra, which I have right here. I'm going to take it out of its case. All right. I'm going to compare sizes. Putting it face to face. It's very close to the same size. It's a little smaller in every direction. And of course, it's a lot smaller at the corners because the corners are rounded, whereas the S23 Ultra has got basically square corners. Let me see if I can tell a difference in weight. Yeah, it feels... I don't know. It's hard for me to tell that kind of thing. But I would say, yeah, the Ultra definitely... Well, I won't say definitely, but it does feel a little bit heavier. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on. Get TalkBack going, and then So I'm holding this key down. It did not vibrate. There it is. Just had to hold it for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and once this is booted, or once I think it's booted, I'm going to do the Samsung method of side key and power up. I'm just going to try it now. Did not seem to do anything.
Press both side and volume
Okay,
up
there it
buttons
is.
quickly to use. Talkback on.
Okay,
Welcome
so
to
here we have.
Talkback. Labels available. Use tap with 3 fingers to view. Allow Talkback to make and manage phone calls. Allow button.
Gonna allow.
Samsung Setup Wizard. Welcome.
Let's see what the volume level is at.
Accessibility volume set to 50%.
Okay, so that's pretty decent for 50%. I'm gonna see how loud this gets.
English.
Okay.
Double tap to activate.
Yeah, I'll try to not put it next to the microphone, but that's very loud.
Welcome. English. Double tap to activate. Screen off.
Well, that concludes this unboxing. I'm not gonna bore you with the setup that I normally do, but thank you for listening.
So, John, I take it this is or has been your daily driver for the last week and a bit, has it? This is what you're using now?
Yeah, I've been using it for about a week now. I really like it. A couple of things I did want to mention is that first, this version of OneUI, which is 6.1, comes with a version of TalkBack 14.1. And I say a version because it has some of the features, but it doesn't have the most important feature, which is the image descriptions. For whatever reason, if you go into that part of the settings, there's only the 2 switches that have I shouldn't say always, that have been there for a while, icon description and text description. And the silliest part about it is if you go to what's new in TalkBack, it will tell you all about how you have image descriptions now, but they're not actually there. So for whatever reason, whether it's an oversight or a intentional decision, that's not in Samsung's version of TalkBack 14.1. So that's a little disappointing. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that in OneUI 6.1, they have fixed actions on the recent screen. That was an issue in 6.0 where actions were broken on the recent screen. So you can now close apps by using TalkBack actions. And also one thing that needs to be mentioned, I know people are going to be asking, is that no, you cannot run Eloquence on the S24 series, or more specifically the S24 Plus, but I'm assuming it's the entire series. I was not able to install it on there, so it seems to suffer from the same 32-bit app restrictions that the Pixel devices have implemented in the past year or so. So definitely be aware of that if you're thinking of upgrading and you're one of those people that absolutely needs Eloquence.
So, John, did you use any AI features on the phone, and what are you comment about that?
I haven't used too many. I did try Circle to Search, and I'm sad to say it doesn't seem very accessible. If you use navigation buttons, obviously you can long press the home button with a double press and hold. But if you're using navigation gestures, you actually have to do a talkback pass through and then hold your thumb near or your finger near the bottom of the screen to bring it up. And then obviously you can't circle anything without doing another pass through gesture, but it does break it up into little parts that you can select, and it will do a search on that word, but it's literally like word by word. So you can select a word on the screen and it will do a Google search on that one word, but I haven't found a way to like highlight an entire sentence or anything like that. So out of the gate, thumbs down for accessibility.
Now, so I got that feature on my Pixel 8 Pro, And for me, all I need to do is long press something and it brings up the menu. And in there is the circle to or whatever, or search with Google, whatever the new thing is. However, I haven't been able to select, like, say, a sentence. And I think that would be because we don't have a way of selecting a sentence, for example. And so if they're going to be giving us this and they want us to be able to use this, then they have to open up the ability to discriminately select on web pages. Because right now, if all I do is long press on a word, that's fine. But I mean, I can't select a sentence like John says. So give us that line selection or whatever, and we'll be good to go. And long press it, whatever. At least the long press for me, when I long press an image, it brought up that feature.
Do we think sighted users can select sentences and have it done, or are they also restricted to selecting words?
No, they could select whatever they want. Yeah, they can circle images. They can like scribble a whole, like highlight a whole paragraph. They can pinch to zoom, move the screen around, to make it easier to select certain areas. So yeah, it works great for them.
Any harder to install Google Talkback instead?
It's no harder than it was on 6.0, but it is different from how it was before. So the procedure is the same, except you can't get into the Google Talkback settings. Well, I should say you can't go into accessibility services and then open Google Talkback to assign the shortcut from there. So what you'd have to do is go into accessibility settings, then go to shortcuts, find the shortcut you want to assign Talkback to, and then choose Talkback from the list. And as long as Samsung's Talkback is uninstalled at that point, that Talkback that's in that list will be Google's Talkback, and you can assign it to a shortcut that way. So the procedure is just as difficult as before, no more difficult. You just have to go about it a slightly different way.
And what happens if you reinstall Samsung's Talkback? Will the shortcut be replaced automatically, or it will still be active or working?
It will still be working. It just won't show up. So like if you go back to the settings and look at the shortcut, it will show you Talkback in that list, and Talkback will not be checked because now it's showing you Samsung's version of Talkback. So Google's version of Talkback won't be in that list any longer, but it will still be assigned to that shortcut. So if you then added Samsung's Talkback to that shortcut, then when you did the shortcut, you'd get a pop-up asking which you wanted to enable, Talkback or Talkback. Just to make
So it's the same as
more-
Android 13. I think it's
Yeah.
it's here the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what about the sound and the overall performance of the device? I mean, compared to the S23 Ultra, it's not the same phone, I know, but it's a fair comparison, I think.
Yeah, I haven't noticed any drop off at all. So like going from the S23 Ultra to the S24 Plus, if you didn't use the S Pen, which I didn't use the S Pen, like the experience is just as good. It's hard to say if it's snappier, because it was so good before, and it's still really good. So I don't think there might be a slight increase in performance, but it's not something you would notice. I did notice that the haptics in the S24 Plus are a little weaker. They're not necessarily bad, they're just weaker. So I had to adjust. On my S23 Ultra, I had it set to about 40%. So I had to change it to 100% on this to get what felt like the same result for me. So the haptics are a little weaker for some reason. And the speakers, they seem very I haven't done like a side by side, but they get very loud. They're very clear. They're very nice speakers. Mic quality seems to be great, like it always is on Samsung phones. And the screen, for those who have low vision, although it technically has a higher peak nits than the S23 Ultra, it seems about as the same amount bright to me.
That sounds like you're pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I am. That's why I'm kind of considering, canceling the S24 Ultra order, if Samsung doesn't ship it soon.
Yeah. And how's the battery?
It's great. It's so I use it screen on 100% brightness basically all the time, and I've yet to drain it. I think the lowest I've seen it at the end of the day is maybe 40%. So yeah, and for me, like, that's probably close to the best battery life I've gotten in a phone, if not the best battery life I've gotten in a phone.
At 40% in the evening, that's absolutely beautiful. You can't go wrong on such a battery use. So, Samsung has been doing very well when it comes to battery management. And frankly, this is beautiful. I mean, even on my S23 Plus, I had that thing set up since that Monday. And believe it or not, I'm not a user of it much, but I haven't charged it yet because, I do very little on it, but I haven't turned it off. It's been on since then. And I think when I checked this morning, it's like 19%. So it's not bad. I like the battery management.
Yeah, I'm a very heavy user of my phone. I do everything on my phone. I have it on me all day. I probably, so that 40% I quoted, that's probably after like 6 or 7 hours of actual screen on time. And, I also use it for just listening to stuff, with the screen off, like podcasts, audiobooks, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And on top of that, that's your main driver. And so, I mean, that is still a very good usage case, because if you look at 40%, I mean, most phones would be down to maybe 30% or whatever. So it's really good. I like it. You are now onto our App of the Week segment. This is where we demonstrate an app showing you whether or not it has accessibility issues or not. Should you have an app that you would like us to feature on one of our episodes, feel free to send such an app to contactus at blindandroidusers.com. And now, here's this episode's App of the Week.
Now we turn to our App of the Week, and Warren demonstrates Perplexity, a search engine, as he describes it, with a difference. Hi.
For episode 165 App of the Week, this is demonstrating Perplexity. Perplexity. Think of Perplexity as a search engine with a difference. I'll be demonstrating Perplexity on my Pixel 6 Pro running Android 14 and TalkBack 14.1. For the speech services, I'll be using the acapella services using the Heather voice. I am now on my home screen and will navigate my way to the Perplexity icon.
Perplexity.
Here's Perplexity. We tap here to activate.
Paywall background image.
I do want to apologize for some reason my connection with Reflective 4 is kind of stuttering today. And so the first thing we heard, background paywall. And I do want to mention here in passing that this app has a subscription model of $19.99 or $20 a month, or $199.99 annually. So it depends on what you want. The whole idea of demonstrating Perplexity is to have the developer fix some of the accessibility issues. There are some buttons here that are not labeled. However, for the most part, it is usable. And so the whole idea is that after hearing this, we can all contact that developer and have him or her fix the accessibility issues here. So the first thing we heard was paywall. Moving down.
Skip.
There's a skip there to the left in the middle.
Book icon image.
We heard something, book icon image.
Perplexity icon image.
Next below that is the Perplexity icon image.
Google logo. Continue with Google.
And you could sign in with Google or sign up with Google, or
continue with email.
Continue with email. In other words, you could sign up with email, or if you have a Perplexity account, you could log in there.
Privacy policy.
And we have privacy policy
Terms of service.
and terms of service. I'm going to use my Google account, so I'm going to go back up and tap on Continue with Google.
Google logo. Continue with Google.
Go ahead and tap here.
Services. Cancel button.
We heard Google Services Cancel button.
Choose an account.
In the middle, we hear Choose an account. And below that is your Google account. Or if you have multiple Google accounts, you can choose the one you want to use with Perplexity. I'm going to tap on my username.
Warren Carr. warrencarr@gmail.
I tap
Signing
there
in.
on my username. And we hear it starting because of my bad connectivity with Reflector today. We're now on the second
Perplexity
page.
text. Pro icon. Unlike the most powerful AI. Research assistant. Check. Over 300 Copilot uses per day. Check. Unlike GPT-4 and Claude 2.1. Check. Pro support from our team. Check. Early access features. Selected check icon.
In other words, what's going on here is that you have access to all the different AI providers like Copilot from Microsoft. You have the Anthropic Claude, you have Google Gemini, you have GPT-4 and all of that. And at the bottom,
Subscribe.
there's the subscribe, and I'm not going to subscribe
The
to
subscription
to
will
anything.
automatically renew unless it is cancelled at least 24 hours before the end of the current period. The user's
Okay.
account will be charged for renewal within 24 hours prior to the end of the current period. The user can manage subscriptions and turn off auto-renewal by going to their account settings after purchase. Any unused portion of a free trial period, if offered, will be forfeited when the user purchases a subscription.
And you don't have to subscribe to it if you don't want to. I'm going to close out of here, so I'm going to hit the back button.
Paywall background. Navigate up button. Restore.
And here are the subscription models. We got,
Monthly, $19.99. Billed
just like I
monthly.
said earlier,
Yearly, $199.99. Save $39.89. Free trial. Free 7-day trial.
and now I'm just going to hit the back button, that is to close. I just closed out of the subscription page, and so we are on this page,
Where knowledge begins.
and we hear where knowledge begins.
How are volcanoes formed? In
And
list.
some of the items here, how are volcanoes formed.
Body reaction to spicy food.
So talking about my jalapenos and all that good stuff.
Can you make ice cream at home?
I keep going.
America's best circuses.
So basically,
Can we hear colors?
can we hear colors? So these are things, some of the things here that you could, tap on and hear the answers for and all of that. Now, there are lots of them. They're going from left to right. We keep going. And if you're a swiper, just keep swiping. Now, toward the bottom, we have some buttons and tabs. The first buttons we encounter on the left, we have
Ask anything. The best-selling music. Ask anything.
there on the bottom left is Ask Anything. Basically, if you tap on that, it will bring up your keyboard. Now, moving to the right,
Image search button.
there's a search button there, and to the right of it is the voice search.
Voice search button.
In other words, you could tap on this and use your voice in asking the questions. At the bottom of these are tabs. Starting from the bottom left, here are the tabs that we find.
Home.
We have Home.
Not selected tab icon. Discover.
To the right of that is a Discover. Moving right,
Not selected tab icon. Library.
Library. That is the things that you've searched for or have asked questions for will be in your library. Of course, if you tap in the middle one, which is a discovery, you'll see the different categories you could choose from and things like that. How about though we go ahead and try asking something using our voice?
Voice search button.
Tap here. What's the tallest tree in the world?
Button.
I apologize for my bad connectivity today. I have no clue as to what's going on with my Reflector 4. All right, now put my finger down.
What's the tallest tree in the world? Out of list.
And moving down.
Icon. Sources. Image.
And there's the sources.
Image.
If you tap
Expand
on that.
Icon. Image.
And moving down.
Answer.
There's the answer. If I move on down, there should be some text here.
The tallest tree in the world is the Hyperion, a coastal redwood, Sequoia sempervirens, located in California, which measures 115.92 meters, 380.3 feet in height.
All right, I'm going to scroll down a little bit because it has tons of stuff there. But in the middle, as you scroll down, we have some buttons that are not labeled. And these are some of the unlabeled buttons that I was talking about. From the left in the middle, we have the following.
Icon.
It just says icon. Tapping on this unlabeled icon there on the left brings up a list of the AI providers you can choose from that could help you in rewriting the answers. And so we got
Rewrite.
Rewrite using.
Choose an option below to rewrite the answer.
So basically choose an option below to rewrite the answer.
Icon. Copilot. More accurate and thorough search.
There's Copilot.
Icon. Experimental, concise and less restrictive model by Perplexity.
This one is coming direct from Perplexity.
Icon. GPT-4. OpenAI's most advanced model.
Next.
Icon. Claude-2.1. Anthropic's most advanced model.
That's the Claude from Anthropics. Next.
Icon. Gemini Pro. Beta model by Google.
And the Gemini from Google. Let's go back and see what the next button does. So now I'm back to the previous screen, and sorry again for my stuttering here with my reflector. The next icon.
Icon. Button. Icon. Button.
And we'll tap on this to see what it does.
Clipboard.
This button, when tapped on, simply copies it to your clipboard. Let's move on to the third button.
Icon. Button.
And we tap.
Send to nearby device.
Or you could send to a nearby device. Let's look at the last button. That's the fourth button on the right.
Icon. Button. Share.
Tapping on that, here's what we got.
HTTPS. Sharing link. What's the tallest tree in the world? HTTP. Copy.
This one brings up all the sharing apps, like all the apps that you find.
Messages.
And all of that. So let's go back. And those are the unlabeled buttons there.
Where is the Hyperion tree located? Related.
We have the related thing. Where is it located?
How old is the Hyperion tree? Related. What is the average height of a coastal redwood tree?
And we keep moving down.
Ask follow-up.
Ask follow-up. And then below that will be
voice search button.
And basically, that will be a little short demonstration of this app called Perplexity Is. Again, though, my apologies for my stuttering of my connectivity today. But that's what it is. And now we could just write to the developer and have him or her label these buttons to make it a joy to use Perplexity. Thank you.
Any more to say about that?
as I indicated in that little demo, the app is not quite very accessible, and it's a different kind of search. So it's an AI kind of search, and the thing is that it has all of these AI providers in there. You could do follow-ups and all of that. The only thing I wish it did, and probably it's behind that paywall of $20 a month or $200 a year, is the ability to hear back a verbal response or whatever. Because I would like to see a situation whereupon if I tap on the voice search, for example, and I search something with my voice, it would be nice to also have it, verbalize responses of what I just did that voice search for. But right now, it didn't do that, and I don't know for sure if that is part of the paywall, as they put it. So I'm not about to find out. I think that the El Fribo part of it is good enough for me, but it's a great app with a great potential. I just want them to make it accessible, and that will actually be a very good thing to do.
And you've been in touch with the developer?
I haven't yet because I just grabbed that app yesterday evening and then installed it and decided to, hey, I'm going to demonstrate this for our podcast. So I haven't written them. For some reason, I kind of slept in today. If someone had not sent me a message waking me up at 7:30, I probably would have slept in till maybe about 8 something. So I haven't. After this podcast, so I'll try to reach out to the dev.
Was that someone, Austin, or was it someone else? Not anyone on the podcast crew who woke you up?
No, it was someone else. I know where you're going, Ed, but no, it wasn't Austin. Austin didn't wake me up with any notification. It was some other person else. And now the Jieshuo, or what Austin refers to as the Joshua screen reader, aka commentary screen reader, CSR. This is where some feature of this screen reader is demonstrated.
Now we have the next in our series on commentary, or Jieshuo, and Karene shows us options for resuming speech feedback or browse by touch when these have previously been suspended.
Hi. Suspend Browse by Touch is a Jieshuo function that enables you to pause Browse by Touch, which is called in TalkBack Explore by Touch. When Browse by Touch is suspended, the on-screen taps and gestures will be handled by the system, and there will be no accessibility focus, but you will still be receiving speech feedback. If you don't want to have speech feedback also, you should use the suspend speech feedback and browse by touch function. Recently, 3 options were added and they are related to the resuming of the browse by touch or speech feedback and browse by touch. Let's see them together.
Main menu. Jieshuo settings.
Jieshuo settings.
Jieshuo Plus.
Advanced settings.
Advanced settings. Advanced settings.
Operation settings.
Operation settings. Operation settings.
And I'll look for
checked. Allow resuming the screen reader exclusively from the notification bar unchecked.
When this option is checked, I have 2 methods to resume the browse by touch and speech feedback and browse by touch. Either by tapping the notification that is received when they are suspended, or by the simultaneous pressing of the volume keys. And this means you press the first volume key, immediately press the second one, then release them together. If I uncheck this, I'll have additional options. So in addition to the mentioned 2, I will have
checked.
The 3 new options are still in Chinese. They can't be translated for now, but I'll go one by one, and I'm using swiping. The first one is, let's use the translation from Jieshuo.
Operant translation. Resume feedback when screen is unchecked.
This means that when you lock then unlock the screen, the feedback will be resumed. It is enough to be on the lock screen for this to work, so you don't need to unlock fully. The second option is
Checked. Restore feedback checked when the notification bar is pulled down to display.
also this is using the Jieshuo translation. This means that if I swipe down with one finger from the top of the screen to open notification shade, the browse by touch or browse by touch and speech feedback will be resumed automatically. Of course, swiping will be with one finger, not with two.
Checked.
The third one is
Resume feedback when a call comes. Checked.
this means that when you receive a call, browse by touch or browse by touch and speech feedback should be resumed automatically. When I tested this, it didn't work with WhatsApp calls, but it should work with regular phone calls. These are the three options. You can enable 1, 2, or 3 of them. It's up to you. Let's try. I'll try the swiping with one finger from the top of the screen. By default, to suspend browse by touch, you press both of the volume keys in the way that I described before. You can also use the function from the main menu or assign another gesture. I'd open the main menu.
Main menu. More button. Main menu. Monitor the current. Select CTS. Suspend speech feedback and browse by touch.
This is the one related to speech feedback and browse by touch, and
Disable hot. Suspend browse by touch.
this is for the browse by touch suspension. Let's activate it.
Browse by touch suspended.
I'll swipe down with one finger from the top of the screen.
Notification shade.
Browse by touch was resumed automatically. I'll try to swipe.
Touch. Clear Clear comment button.
So Jieshuo is working, browse by touch is working, and this means that the option is working. Thank you for listening.
Straight ahead is our Tip of the Week segment, and this is where we show you a trick or tip on how to take advantage of your Android device. And now for this episode's Tip of the Week, here's your Tip of the Week.
And we close this week with a Tip of the Week. And I show you a problem you might have if you're a Xiaomi user when entering 3-finger symbols with any Braille keyboard. If you have upgraded from MIUI to HyperOS, which is Xiaomi's implementation of Android 14 on some devices. Hello everyone, I'm Ed Green, and I'm here today to tell you about a problem that Xiaomi users might experience when they upgrade to HyperOS, which is Xiaomi's implementation of Android 14 on some phones. Now, Xiaomi users already using MIUI 13, which was Android 12, or 14, which was Android 13, may recall that if they used a Braille keyboard, 3-finger combinations like the letter L, dots 456, which precede certain other symbols to make, for instance, a slash, / character, wouldn't be able to use those 3-finger gestures by default. They'd first have to go into settings, general settings, gesture shortcuts, and turn off some system gestures which relied on 3 fingers, a 3-finger swipe down and a 3-finger press and hold, which related to taking different sorts of screenshots. Once they'd done that, the 3 fingers in Braille keyboards would work as envisaged. Unfortunately, following the upgrade to HyperOS, I'm on 1.0.1.0, turning off those three-finger gestures relating to screenshots in Xiaomi's system settings does not solve the problem. The three-finger gestures will not work on the Braille keyboard at all, either TalkBack Braille keyboard, Advanced Braille keyboard, and I'm assuming Soft Braille keyboard if anybody is still using that. Interestingly, three-finger gestures in TalkBack generally work as envisaged, including ones which are direct conflicts. And that's regardless of whether they are turned on or off in Xiaomi's additional settings gesture shortcuts. So a three-finger tap and hold will bring up search. A three-finger single tap will bring up the TalkBack menu. The problem is only, from our perspective anyway, in the Braille keyboard. There are two bits of promising news. The first is we are not the only ones affected. Gamers are complaining that some of their gestures aren't working either, and it's not great that anyone else is having a problem, obviously. What it does mean, though, is that with any luck, Xiaomi will seek to fix this fairly quickly. The second piece of good news is that there is a workaround. It's not a great workaround, but it does tend to work. What you have to do is perform the gestures in two stages. So I use my phone in screen away mode just for clarity. So when I want to type the letter L, what I do now is I press dots 2 and 3. I wait to feel the vibration to tell me that they have registered on the keyboard. This is using TalkBack Braille keyboard. And keeping those two fingers still held down, I add dot 1. So dots 2 and 3, wait for the vibration, keep them held, add dot 1. You may well find that other two-part combinations work, so you might start with dots 1 and 2, add dot 3, so on and so forth. Starting with the lower symbols, for me anyway, seems to be the most reliable way of getting this to happen. I suppose you might conceptually, thinking about it, it's a little bit like holding down a shift key on a physical keyboard and adding a letter. Obviously, it's not an exact analogy because there are no buttons and we're not holding down a shift key. But, you're holding down something and pressing something else while keeping the first thing held down. That's the takeaway concept. What I'll also say is that the Braille keyboards, both for Advanced Braille keyboard and TalkBack Braille keyboard, are a much less smooth experience. They always seem to be pretty forgiving on all my phones and on all my previous versions of MIUI, but you seem to have to now be much more precise when entering characters than you did previously. It's almost as though the screen real estate has shrunk. I don't think that can be quite right, though, because it doesn't necessarily seem to be that you have to be in exactly the same place each time. It's just that you need to be exact each time. So before you get started, you might either want to recalibrate or just orient yourself by typing a couple of test letters. I've particularly found with the right hand, as I say, I use screen away mode, that my hand needs to be higher than it used to be. Quite why, I'm not sure. But once you've kind of got it working and you're in your rhythm, it should be all right. Like I say, not great, but all right. And if you find yourself particularly uncomfortable typing on a QWERTY keyboard interface like Gboard, then you might want to persist with this and work it until there's a fix. Some of the other three-finger gestures in the TalkBack Braille keyboard are very difficult to perform now as well. So swiping down with three fingers to switch to the next keyboard, swiping up with three fingers to bring up the more options, those are tricky, much harder than typing the letter L, and there doesn't seem to be a fail-safe way. Sometimes I have to swipe down with three fingers 6 or 7 times before it will take. Similarly, swiping up with three fingers as well. So those are more difficult, but again, with a great deal of persistence, doable. I have reported this to both Xiaomi and Google Disability Support. I suspect it is Xiaomi's to fix, but I find it interesting that TalkBack's other three-finger gestures are being captured by TalkBack and work as intended. So I have flagged it to Google in the event that they're able to do something, or indeed to pick it up with Xiaomi. So that is the issue, folks. That is the workaround. I hope it's helpful. John, I'm not sure if OnePlus have this screenshot thing, the three-finger gestures. They didn't used to, but they might well have now. So it'd be interesting to know if the OnePlus 12 has that issue. I think you said Asus did have that implementation, didn't they? But turning off those gestures did resolve the Braille keyboard conflict. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And even after it came with Android 13, even after upgrading to Android 14, I was still able to, turn it off from within the advanced settings. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye out when I get this OnePlus phone set up.
Yeah, as I say, it may or may not have the three-finger screenshot thing. It didn't used to, but I could well believe it might do by now, because mine was 4 iterations ago, and they've grown closer to their sister brands.
The OnePlus did have that gesture when they were in the Oxygen OS, when the OnePlus 11 was out, and even the OnePlus 10, I think. But now I don't know if they have it or no. But the OnePlus did have that in the later parts of Oxygen OS.
Yeah, the 8 didn't, but then obviously it moved closer, didn't it? It's as I say, it's stable brands, and they seem to borrow the same fork. So that'd be interesting to know if it may well still be there.
All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us.
Well, that's it for this episode. Austin, how can people get in touch with us?
To contact us, you can send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. You can join our mailing list by sending an email to Blind Android Users plus subscribe at groups.io. You can join our Telegram, Facebook, Discord, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The links for everything will be at the bottom of the show notes and also in the video description of the YouTube channel. And also the links are in the websites panel of the YouTube channels.
Well, thank you very much for listening, everybody. Say bye-bye to the nice people.
Bye, everybody, and thank you so much for listening to us again. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great week.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone, and my hiccups have cleared now.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.